Well, you know, my brain gets to thinking sometimes about these things, you know, not to bring up old bad things which have been going on, but, you know, you talk about graveside services, you know, you invite more people because you're open air. And the reason I say this, I said, you know, for the last couple of days, we've had demonstrations with thousands of people walking down the street. Why can't we have a couple hundred people at a graveside funeral?
Well, again, it depends. Cemeteries are private spaces, and it depends on what those cemeteries are going to allow or not. If a cemetery, I know Hollywood Cemetery in particular has been very open when it comes to having people, where other cemeteries have been very restrictive on who they invite in. Again, because these are private spaces, except for the city, you know, it's kind of in their ball, you know, it's in their ballpark to choose how they're going to do that. So it's, you know, I think all those types of things are out of our hands.
The reason I brought it up because, you know, every family is different, every situation is different. But if we go that extra mile to provide better service for families under these conditions, you know, it's worth taking that extra effort to talk to everybody involved and see what happens. That's the reason I brought it up.
Oh, sure. Well, and I know that Bob and I were talking earlier today, we're going to be reaching out with the phase 2 part, reaching out to all the local cemeteries to see what they're going to allow or what they're not going to allow. And that will kind of allow our staff to know exactly what can be done and can't be. So,
thank you.
I do actually want to give, because I know they're on the call, or Molly was, she must have popped off again. But a special shout out to Valerie and to Molly. I know they were the ones that came with the ideas and did some research on some Wiley face coverings, face masks. And I know we're in the process of actually getting those. I know Daniel Woodfin's aunt is putting those together, and they actually look really nice. It's like a dark blue, and it's got the Wiley B kind of off to the side. So it really, really looks nice. I would show them to everybody if Daniel hadn't already left. But I think, you know, special shout outs to Valerie and Molly for, you know, taking that and doing a lot of research and stuff on that.
Carrie, have there been any COVID cases contact traced back to any services we've done or anything? Have you heard?
Not that I have heard. I do know, you know, obviously we have internal procedures ready to put in place for some reason if, you know, somebody at the funeral home were to, you know, come down with COVID or things be traced around, as far as temperature checking and whole procedural types of things. Obviously, until we get to that point, there's no reason, you know, we're not trying to go to that extreme yet. But I would imagine the way that the CDC and everybody is trying to contact trace it, that, you know, we certainly would find out if it was.
Thank you.
Good question there, John.
Mm-hmm. I'll take it right there.
Other questions anybody has?
Thank you.
This isn't a question, but it's a plug for
Okay.
Wiley. We did the Angels this morning.
Yeah, definitely.
And it went really well, and I think we probably had.
Yeah, I'd rather put it in your box.
We probably had about 200 people connect with it. We had over 100 connections. So there were a lot of people who participated. And it went really well.
Yeah, we had to, Jenny, obviously with Interment Angels, because we have a big group and unsure of how things were going to proceed with the government, and Mount Calvary is not letting us use the Mausoleum Chapel right now. Jenny had made the decision to go ahead and this Interment Angel service that was done today to work and have it live streamed out to all the families, so that they could watch and share it with other family members, first trying to have a service with people there at Mount Calvary, the challenge with doing it publicly is you have to do it outside. Also with a lot of families and a lot of touching and everything like that, it was just kind of thought right now it was probably better for us not to do that. So Ricky, who's been doing the live streaming for us, came out and live streamed that. All the families were able to get on board. They're actually getting a link to be able to keep that for them too. I know Jenny worked with Bob Brown to develop a sign to mark at Mount Calvary for those families so they could go out after the fact and be able to be there. And I know John did a great job of putting a service together. Jenny told me earlier it was really weird having a service with a camera and really no audience or no family, but you know, I know for a lot of families it was, you know, very worthwhile for them to have. I do know, because I know a lot of, you know, I know some people have started working back in different capacities, but I do know, you know, obviously if things are starting to lift a little bit, we are having more ceremonies, you know, whether it be a church ceremony or a chapel service with a burial, slowly starting to see some of those traditional kind of elements start to get back. So I know a lot of part-timers in particular have been asking about how, you know, how we're going to engage everybody kind of back to work. And I think, you know, ultimately it comes down to just families and kind of what's being done. And I'm glad to see us start getting to the point where we're starting to bring other people back in and getting to see everybody that's a part of the team together. But any other questions with things right now? For stuff, I know it's a lot of uncertainty with stuff, just not knowing, you know, what to expect, and then really adding a complicated layer when we're allowed to do one thing at 2 locations and something else at another certainly makes things a little complicated. But you know, we made it work for the last 3 months. You know, what's another whatever time. So, I guess Deborah, on a side note, are you doing you back to making any cakes, or is the cake business still slow?
There we go.
Doing nothing, and you know what? That's okay.
Yeah. I'll say sometimes a break is not all bad. No. Well, if anybody has any questions or needs anything, please don't hesitate to reach out to me, any one of the location managers with things. The special, actually, just last shout out to, I'm not sure if she's still in there, to Courtney. Courtney actually hooked me up with a little light that you can kind of see right there. It kind of gives a little bit more light to stuff, so I'm not so in the dark with things. And I know we'll also be trying to take advantage of that. We can use it for cell phones and for shooting video, but just to try to find new ways to kind of engage not just staff, but also families with Facebook and different videos and different formats. So special thanks to Courtney for getting that together and working on everything. So y'all have a great week, and I'm actually gonna probably be on vacation all of next week. So my wife and I have a few days coming with hopefully no kids. So if we probably won't have a check-in next week, but I will have Kim send out when our next one is, which will probably be in 2 weeks. Okay. Hey, thank you all, and have a great and safe rest of the week.
Yeah, Kathy and I are taking the kids to the river so they can have a honeymoon. Hi, Deborah.
Take care.